Welcome to another great video. We're talking about financial life lessons, some thoughts on money. We've been doing this for a little while. I want to pass along some of our thoughts. And we have to mention credit where credit's due. Ben Carlson, he wrote a blog on the Wealth of Common Sense. That's his blog.
Yes.
And he went through 17 thoughts on money. And we're using those as a launching pad for some of our own thoughts, like a bit of a Canadian spin on them. But let's dive right in. The first thought on money here, Kevin, first life lesson. Money can't buy happiness. Is usually something only people with money actually say. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest factor, right? I mean, that everybody thinks that if I get enough money, oh, I'm happy, I'll never have to worry about another problem. Well, I hate to say it, rich people have problems as well. I mean, it's not strictly that thing, but again, one of the factors that they don't really have is that those that are rich aren't worried about where their day-to-day money is going to go. I mean, they've got enough for food, they're paying for rent. These are not big problems to them going forward. They have other options that they're probably looking at. But again, that money concept saying that it is the only thing that really matters. I have to go after and get as much money as I can, or I'm never going to be happy. Again, there are varieties of how you would look at this. It's just different problems for different scenarios for different people with amounts of cash.
Yeah, and the idea that money can't buy happiness, I think it can alleviate unhappiness, if you want to get technical about it. I think it can alleviate stressors, right? It can make you a little more comfortable. Maybe it can't actually make you happy, but it can take some of the bad stuff away. If you really hate, I don't know, doing the laundry, well, if you have enough money, you can pay someone to do that. If you're really at an area where you're insecure, but where's the next check going to come from in terms of rent or the mortgage payment? Well, you have a bit of money, that stress goes away. Like you talked about, it can't solve all your problems, it can't make you happy, but I think it can very much alleviate some of the unhappiness. And that's why the whole money can't buy happiness is a little glib. It's probably not the best saying. So I'd agree with that piece. We'll pull up the next one here, Kevin. I think it's kind of related, but the idea that outsourcing can be money well spent. The idea here is that time is finite. Unfortunately, we're all going to pass away eventually. So if we can find a way to spend our money that gives us a little more time, right? It eases some of the stress. Maybe could I change my own oil in my car? Probably. I could probably learn how and put in the time and effort and do that activity. But if I don't enjoy it, I could pay someone to do it, and then I can spend that time with my family or doing something else I enjoy. So that concept of outsourcing, you don't have to save every single penny and do everything yourself to cut back on cost. It might actually be worth your while to spend a bit of money, gain some time, right? It's that concept that time is finite, and sometimes spending money and outsourcing the activity could actually be to your benefit and lead to greater happiness. Outsourcing could be money well spent. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, the time concept is exactly what you mentioned. I mean, it could be time is money well spent, depending on how you want to look at it, because it depends on what you want to do with your life, right? Most people probably don't want to spend their day doing absolutely everything. I mean, even in the job that we do, we are an outsourced scenario. Why? I mean, we spend days looking at this. We spend hours looking at this. I mean, the average person probably spends 3 to 5 hours a year, which is definitely not enough time if money is the biggest factor that you've got. So outsourcing that scenario, letting somebody else deal with that for you is another key thing. But you mentioned it, whether or not it's dealing with your oil change, or, if you're self-diagnosing yourself because you have a problem, seeing a physician is probably an easier way to do it. They're going to tell you exactly what's going on. And then you can start to have that sort of using that time in a wise way. So yeah, outsourcing definitely one.
It's a good thought on money, good life lesson. And if you have questions on this or really anything, talking about outsourcing, you can always go to us, chatwithclintonkevin.com. Part of our website, fill in the form, comes right to us. Kevin and I do reply to those directly. It's not another member on our team. It's not some fancy algorithm. It is us. So feel free to reach out. We'd love to hear from you. A couple more life lessons, a few more thoughts on money here. And this is a big one, at least for me. It's kind of my background to try to be a little more humble. The most successful people don't brag about money. And it's not about an amount here, right? It doesn't matter people with over $1 million don't brag. No, it doesn't really matter the dollar figure. It's really more just the nature of it, right? It can be a financial insecurity. Maybe it's a lack of validation. Whatever it is, a really successful person will be bragging about their money. They won't tell you about the sports car, how big their house is. They won't tell you how much their vacation costs. Most successful people don't actually do that. They're far more humble and far less braggadocious. Is that a word? I feel like it's a word.
I think it is. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about that sort of, I mean, with social media nowadays, everybody seems to want to, I got to up this person, I got to up this person. I'm keeping up with the Joneses. I have to go out there and do it. The people that have success, they're not on social media doing that. They're not there putting you down or letting you know that, hey, I'm great, I can do this. Again, it's all based on that sort of the millionaire next door, right? The guy that has the smaller car, it's 10 years old. They're living in a house that maybe is 1,500 square feet in a neighborhood that's not as pretentious as some of the others. And why? Because they're sitting on $2 million in the bank. And you don't know about that, but they're telling you, they're not telling you. They don't have to worry about it. Most successful people are not going to brag about what they have. And why? Why should they? I mean, they know exactly where it is. They don't need to put anybody else down. So again, that's another concept where don't always look at it as though I have to have this and I got to show everybody what it is. But I mean, in today's society, it's something we have to deal with on that social media time frame.
And that's very true. Social media definitely changes our perception and relationship to money because you get far more comparisons than in the past. Related to that is the idea of goalposts that are constantly moving, the idea that people have a number in their brain, and maybe not everyone has a number, but the idea perhaps when you're young, you're thinking, hey, if I get $500,000, Kevin, I'm going to be able to retire. That's the number. Then you get to 500,000, maybe I need $1 million, and then you get to $1 million, and now suddenly it's $2 million. It's never enough, right? Those goalposts just keep on shifting, they keep moving. And I think part of that is the fact that perhaps you don't have a plan set in stone. A solution there might be to kind of carve that out. Would you agree?
I would. I mean, you're basically looking at that, Gordon Gekko, greed is good scenario. I mean, the goalpost is here, but how can I keep going? And then that Bud Fox scenario, how many yachts can you ski behind before you've got enough that where it is? But having that plan is the big factor that you need to deal with. If you've got it set out where your goals are, what you need, how long you're going to go with this longevity thing, having that plan will alleviate a lot of these sort of stress points or anything else that's going on. Because again, if you set it at 55, this is where you want to be, or at 45, you're planning for this. If you have those numbers in place, chances are you won't see those goalposts moving the same way. And, I'm not getting to where I am. And you're revisiting that on a constant basis anyway to see exactly where you are. So that's one thing. But I think another factor that we should have to look at, one big point that has not been mentioned yet, is dealing with car washes. The premium car wash is a scam. How can you possibly get more clean than my car? If I go into my car is wiped down and clean, why am I going to pay twice as much money to get what? The same clean car? Tell me, how is this not a scam, Clint?
Probably is. I don't know. We're probably agreeing with you. Ben Carlson put this in his post. Kevin read it and immediately related. That is definitely a waste of money. You want a thought on money? Right there. Don't pay for the premium car wash. You get the regular car wash. You save yourself that $10. You do that every week, Kevin. That adds up. That's a lot of money in your pocket.
That's where that goalpost money's going for me. No more premium car washes. I'm spending that down the line.
Oh, well, we're having a bit of fun with this. A few thoughts on money. If you like this concept, we have other videos specifically related to how much money you need to be happy. Dive into some data. So click on that video. We'll see you again very soon. Take care.